quiet suburban neighborhood just beyond the edge of town stood the Carter family home. It was an unassuming house, painted a soft shade of blue, with a swing set in the yard where little Emily Carter played. At just 8 years old, Emily was a bright and cheerful girl, loved by her parents and adored by her friends. But as summer turned to fall, a darkness began to creep into their lives. It started subtly, strange noises in the night, shadows flitting just out of sight, and Emily often talking to herself in hushed tones. Her parents dismissed it as a vivid imagination typical of childhood. But soon, things took a terrifying turn. Emily began to exhibit peculiar behavior. She would stare blankly at the walls for hours, her laughter turning into fits of rage that left her parents bewildered and frightened. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Emily suddenly dropped her fork, her face contorting into an expression of sheer terror. "Mommy! Daddy! There's someone in my room!" she screamed, her voice rising in pitch. When they rushed to her side, they found her trembling, pointing toward the darkened hallway. "He's watching me! He wants to play!" Her parents, anxious but skeptical, checked her room only to find nothing unusual. They tried to reassure her, but the fear lingered. That night, as they tucked her in, they noticed a strange smell wafting from her room, a putrid, sulfuric odor that made them recoil in disgust. They decided it was time to consult a doctor. Dr. Simmons, the family physician, conducted a thorough examination, but found nothing physically wrong with Emily. "It's likely just a phase, or perhaps she's experiencing anxiety," he suggested. But as the days passed, her condition worsened. Emily began to speak in a voice that was not her own, deep, guttural, and chilling.
"Leave her alone,"
it would hiss, sending shivers down her parents' spines. Desperate for answers, they reached out to a local priest, Father Matthews, who had experience with paranormal disturbances. He arrived at their home, equipped with holy water and a sense of urgency. As he entered, he felt an oppressive energy enveloping him, a coldness that seemed to seep from the very walls. Father Matthews approached Emily, who sat on her bed, her eyes black as coal, devoid of any light. "What is your name?" he asked, his voice steady. In response, Emily's mouth twisted into a sinister grin.
"I am the darkness that has come to play,"
she replied, her voice echoing unnaturally. The priest felt a wave of nausea wash over him, but he steeled himself. He began to recite prayers, the words flowing from his lips as he sprinkled holy water around the room. But the entity that had taken hold of Emily was powerful and malevolent. The air crackled with energy, and the temperature plummeted. Objects began to rattle and fly off shelves, and Emily writhed on the bed, her body contorting in unnatural ways.
"You cannot save her,"
the voice taunted, laughter mingling with the sound of breaking glass.
"She belongs to me now."
With each passing moment, Emily's condition deteriorated further. She exhibited superhuman strength, throwing Father Matthews across the room as if he were a rag doll. Terrified, her parents watched as their little girl transformed into something unrecognizable. They decided to escalate the situation and contacted a renowned exorcist, Father Thomas, who had dealt with similar cases. After hearing Emily's story, he arrived, prepared for the worst. The moment he stepped into the house, he felt a darkness that seemed to wrap around him like a shroud. Father Thomas entered Emily's room, where the atmosphere was thick with malevolence. He began the exorcism with fervent prayers, demanding the entity to reveal itself. Emily's body convulsed violently as the voice roared,
"You think your threats can save her? She is mine."
Hours passed as the battle between good and evil raged on. The walls shook, and the temperature dropped to freezing levels. Father Thomas, undeterred, continued his prayers, invoking the name of Jesus. The room erupted in chaos. Furniture flew, and a cacophony of screams filled the air. In a final desperate plea, Father Thomas shouted, "By the power of God, I command you to leave this child." The room fell silent, and for a moment there was an eerie stillness. Then, with a deafening crash, A heavy force was expelled from Emily's body, sending the priest staggering backward. Emily lay still, her eyes fluttering open as if awakening from a deep sleep. The darkness that once enveloped her dissipated, leaving behind a fragile, trembling child. Her parents rushed to her side, crying tears of relief. But the battle was not without its scars. The entity had left its mark, and the family struggled to heal from the trauma. Emily would occasionally wake in the night, whispering, "He's still here, Mommy. He won't let me forget." Years later, the memory of that dark time still haunted them. They moved away, hoping to escape the lingering shadows, but the scars of possession ran deep. Emily grew up, forever marked by her experience, her laughter sometimes fading into silence as she glanced over her shoulder, aware that the darkness was never truly gone. Late at night, when silence reigned, a whisper could often be heard in the wind, echoing through the trees, reminding them that some games should never be played and some darkness can never be fully exorcised.